Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are talking about Dehancer, a film emulation plugin available for Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, and Premiere Pro. Let's take a look. In this video, I will share my personal experience with the Dehancer plugin for DaVinci Resolve. My journey with Dehancer began when I was grading a documentary I had recently shot using the Canon R5C. And while I love the R5C, I still found that the lack of C-Log 2 and better dynamic range in the standard XF-AVC codec posed a problem in some situations where I really couldn't control the lighting. With C-Log 3, it's especially easy to lose details in the highlights, and I did an initial grade in Final Cut Pro, and despite the countless color masks and each clip, the final results weren't great. It was a constant battle between adding more contrast and trying to recover some of those highlights. I did spend several days on it, but ultimately I deleted the timeline and started fresh on my picture lock. So I began looking for a solution to help me with those annoying highlights. What if I could find a way to compress those highlights, but without losing the brightness and the contrast? And after some research, I stumbled upon Dehancer and its film compression tool, which can process highlights in a similar way negative film does. I had heard about Dehancer before, but as a happy film convert customer for several years now, I didn't look for other solutions until now. So I contacted the Dehancer team and asked if they would be willing to send me a temporary license to use their software in exchange for an honest review. So now it's probably a good time to note that this video is not sponsored by Dehancer. They won't look at the video before its publications, and all they asked was an honest review of their software. I should also note that I am not a professional colorist, but I do have a good understanding of colors. And I chose to get a Dehancer license for DaVinci Resolve instead of Final Cut, since Resolve has far stronger color tools, especially when it comes to color pipelines. Dehancer is yet another film emulation plugin that promises to replicate the sought-after shot-on-film look with your digital footage. It allows you to go from this, or this, or this, with just a few clicks, or at least that's what it says on the paper. And I did say shot on film and not cinematic look or film look, because these two are two different things. Film emulation plugins are there to make your footage look like it was shot on film, whereas the cinematic or film look is obtained by, well, making a film, from blocking scenes to choosing the correct fixtures and thinking about set design and wardrobe. It's not simply about grain and halations. So shot on film doesn't necessarily mean cinematic. For example, an advertising can have the shot on film look without having a cinematic look, if that makes any sense. This means that Dehancer can be used in many different ways, whether you want to create a vlog, a travel video, or even a family film. There is no right or wrong way to use it. Over the years, I've used different film emulation softwares, including CinemaGrade, Osiris, Film Convert, and now Dehancer. I never was fond of LUTs, and I only use the default LUTs inside Final Cut so that I don't have to edit looking at log footage. My favorite plugin so far has been Film Convert Nitrate. It's the perfect blend of ease of use, quality, and affordability. And I've been using it for the past 5 years now. I've edited commercial projects, corporate videos, wedding, travel, and more. So the sole reason why I looked at Dehancer was for its film compression. See, negative film has a much larger dynamic range toward highlights than digital sensor, and you really have to overexpose by several stops to burn highlights. On top of that, a film emulsion creates a much smoother transition between tones, which makes the highlight look more pleasing, even if there isn't much detail left there. The Dehancer film compression tool can replicate that feature of negative film quite well. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of ways of compressing highlights, but Dehancer makes it easy to understand and to use. And while film compression certainly cannot extend the dynamic range of a digital sensor, it can certainly help you fine-tune your highlights in a more analog way so they don't look like this. But Dehancer offers so much more than just film compression, from film and camera profiles to halation, bloom, grain, just to name a few. And more importantly, Dehancer provides a comprehensive learning experience that really teaches you how film works and how it's developed to achieve specific results. And what's neat is that their tools are actually inspired by an analog workflow. So in Dehancer, we are talking about film negative, we're talking about developer, printing, and color heads. Dehancer enables you to emulate the unique characteristic of each film stock, from the famous Kodak Vision motion picture lines to the Fuji Eterna. And you also have like lots of film stocks such as the Kodak Ektachrome, Kodak Ektar, Portra, Cinestill 50D, Fuji Superior, and many more. I just can't remember all of them. And you can even use Dehancer camera profiles to match shots between different cameras if you shoot with different brands, in the same way that Film Convert and Cinematch pioneered in. But what set Dehancer apart from the competition is their attention to detail. See, each film stock has unique qualities that needs to be used in different situations. For example, if you are shooting a daylight balance or tungsten fixture, you'll use different film stock. And Dehancer was able to carefully replicate how each film stock reacts to light. It even emulates bloom, halation, grain, and other film characteristics, and all of those can be fully customized, so you can really dial in the look you seek. And they also have presets to replicate 8mm, 16mm, 35, and even the new 65mm. And each tool works hand in hand to provide an accurate film emulations. But the beauty of Dehancer is that you have a complete control on each of those effects. So if you want to remove the halation or the bloom, or use the halation of 16mm with a print emulation of 65, is what you're looking for, well, you can. This means that Dehancer can be used for both commercial and corporate projects, where you might want a more subtle look, while still using the powerful film profiles and the colors, but maybe not the halations. And yeah, of course, all of those film effects have been available before, but with Dehancer, it's all in one neat package, so it makes your color grading workflow much simpler and faster, and also without compromising quality, so that's a big thing. So when it comes to software, there is always room for improvement, and Dehancer isn't exempt. That being said, from what I gathered, the Dehancer team is really good at taking the user feedback and making necessary improvements and changes in their software. Although I haven't used this software for a very long time, I still did create a 20-minute documentary with it from start to finish. And during that time, I encountered some stability and performance issues with Dehancer in Resolve. For example, Resolve would occasionally crash when I was making some drastic changes inside Dehancer with the conversion tool and inside the color heads, so I had to go into the habit of saving my project every few minutes. Another issue that I encountered was performance. I was grading a 4K DCI timeline on my MacBook Pro 21 M1 Max. It's a powerful machine that can easily handle such tasks. However, Dehancer was able to affect those performance. And I discovered that it's the grain tool especially, which is enabled by default, that was the main problem. So to address this, I turned it off and added the grain onto a separate timeline node once I finished my grade, so it would be smoother while I was grading it. And I also found that the film breadth and gate weave can slow down performance. However, tools like bloom and halations had minimal impact on performances. It's worth noting though that the Dehancer grain tool is power consuming because it doesn't simply add a grain overlay to your footage. Instead, they use some sort of algorithm to analyze your footage, and it produces an accurate depiction of film grain, and it looks really nice. So Dehancer recommends working with either ProRes files or the DNG files, instead of like using H.264 or H.265. I should also mention that my workflow could have been at fault here for all of those constant crashes, because I do use an XML round trip between Final Cut and Resolve. And when I try to grade clip directly imported inside Resolve, I did experience less crash. Have you ever been told, well, if you want a film look, then just shoot on film? And while it's not necessarily wrong, it's not always the most helpful nor constructive advice. Film emulation plugins will really never truly replace the joys and the challenges of shooting on film, whether it's motion picture or photographic film for that matter. I shoot a lot of images on film, but I've only had the chance to shoot a handful of motion picture films while I was in college almost 10 years ago. And I remember we used an 8mm Bolex and the Super 16 Reflex. And I can tell you that even the simple fact of loading the film inside the camera while inside the changing bag, it can be traumatic enough to make anyone want to go back to the mirrorless. Because let me tell you, loading the film was just the beginning. After that, you have to expose it properly and hope that your light reading was accurate. And then when you do your focus rocking, you also have to hope that it's sharp, because you don't have an external display and you can just check your false colors, you don't have focus peaking, And if you're going into a low light situations, well, you just can simply crank up your gain or your ISO. So it can be challenging. Finally, all of that has to be done on a limited film reel. So don't expect to have 46 takes of your talent opening a door. And if you do want 46 takes of your talent opening a door, I hope you have deep pockets, because you'll not only need to buy the film reel by themselves, but also the processing fees. And if you thought that shooting photos on 35mm was expensive, which it is, then wait until you find a lab that still processes motion picture film and then give you the quote for not only the processing, but the scanning of your film. You'll be in for a treat. Now, don't get me wrong, I love shooting film and I'm quite grateful for the experience I got in film school, but I wouldn't call it a budget-friendly solution. And if you can afford it and you're curious about it, then yeah, maybe rent a Bolex camera and grab one roll of film. It will be a great experience. And this brings us to the value of Dehancer. To have the Dehancer Pro plugins, which includes all those features, you'll have to pay $499. Yeah, that's steep. In comparison, Film Convert Nitride costs $125 at the moment. And if you want a license that covers all of the platforms, so you have Film Convert for Final Cut, Resolve, Premiere, After Effects, you can get a bundle license for $174. And while I'm not here to compare both software, as they are quite different, it is still something to keep in mind. But when you look at the number of features available in Dehancer and the quality of the tools they provide, you can only imagine the amount of research and development that has gone into it. And on top of that, Dehancer supports a large number of cameras, and they have an extensive film stock library. I haven't seen that many film stock available inside a Film Emulation plugin. However, it is still $499 for a lifetime license of Dehancer Pro with 2 seats, meaning that you can install it on 2 different computers. You can of course go with a subscription if you prefer. 1 year is $299, 6 months is $199, and 3 months is $149. Why choose a subscription, you may ask? Well, let's say you have a big project that's about to be picture lock. The next step would be color grading. And you could technically get a 3-month plan, which should give you enough time to finish your projects. But now let's say that you have 3 big projects coming your way, then the lifetime license might make more sense there. And if you don't want all of those features, they also provide a light version for $199, and that light version removes the film compression tool, the film developer, and the halation tools. So if you do decide to go for the light versions, you still have access to the input camera profiles and the 63 film profiles, as well as the preset for mimicking 8mm, 16mm, 35, and 65. You also have access to the color head, which is basically your split toning, and also access to the film grain, the bloom, the defringe, the vignette, and also the monitor for false colors and clipping. Finally, if you are only interested in some of their specific tools, well, you can get them as standalone plugins. Let's say you only want to buy the grain tool, well, you can get it for $99. And it's the same thing for the bloom, the vignette, the halations, which is in my opinion the best plugin out there to emulate halation, and also the gate weave and the film breath. All of those effects are available as standalone plugin for $99 a piece. So Dehancer has several different offers depending on what you need, and it's really nice to see, since most of the time you have to purchase the full software, even if you're only interested, let's say, into a single feature. So it's good to see that Dehancer proposed kind of that like a la carte option, where most other software company will just ask you to buy the full license. Although repeating myself here, I would say Dehancer is catered toward people with a good understanding of color workflow. Because while the plugin has a clear interface, it's essential to properly color balance your footage before you apply any grade. And that's independent of Dehancer really. It's always color correct first, then grade. I just wanted to put that out there one more time. And while Dehancer offers some standard features such as like exposure, white balance, you have also the tint sliders. So technically all could be done inside the plugin. I would still recommend to color correct before you use Dehancer. So if you're inside DaVinci Resolve, I would use a previous node to make your color balance, and after that a different node with Dehancer. And if you edit inside Final Cut Pro 10, then I would just use the basic color tools on each clip before dragging down the Dehancer plugin. Dehancer Pro for DaVinci Resolve is also compatible with more complex color pipelines such as the ACES, I don't know how you say it, the ACES, the DaVinci Resolve White Gamut, which is really good, and also the Cineon Film Log. But you can still use the basic Rec 709 with the camera profiles, so that you just input your camera and after that you choose your film stock, just like you would inside Film Convert, for example. So if you are looking for a powerful film emulation tool and are not satisfied with the one you have tried so far, then Dehancer might be the solution you are looking for. It's the most comprehensive film emulation software I have ever come across. And I think in this point in the video, you know I particularly love that film compression tool. However, Dehancer is quite the powerhouse, and I'm not sure I will use it for quick turnaround projects, especially since in my case I need to make a round-trip XML between Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve. And yes, I could have asked for a license to go with my Final Cut, but the idea behind using it inside Resolve is that Dehancer is such a powerful tool that I'd rather use it inside a software that was made to work on colors. I am really impressed with the result I got from Dehancer. I mean, this software takes film emulations to a new height basically, and I think it's the most complete software out there. And when everything aligned and that you correctly adjusted your colors, and then on top of that you had the grain, the adlations, the bloom, the film breaths, it just, you look at your footage and it makes you think like, yes, this was shot on film. It's that simple. On the video side, Dehancer is available for DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, and the combo Premiere Pro and After Effects. I included a link to the trial version of the plugin in the description below. It comes with a watermark, but you have access to all of the features, so you can really get a better idea of the results it can produce. And if you decide to purchase, Dehancer provided me with a discount code, so if you use Robin Inference Studio at checkout, you'll get 10% off, and I'll get a small commission which help the channel. Also, and I probably shouldn't say this, but technically you could use the watermark version to grade several projects and then purchase the full version. Dehancer also has solutions for photographers using Lightroom Classic, Photoshop, Capture One, and Affinity Photo, and their software works in a similar way than the video plugin. So if you're interested, let me know in the comment below and I'll work on a review for it. And lastly, for those of you who are always on the go or like to edit photos on the iPhone or even the iPad, Dehancer offers an iOS app, which I'll review really soon, so stay tuned for that. That's for me guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review of Dehancer for DaVinci Resolve. And if you got something out of this video, please consider liking and subscribing so I can do more of this video in the future. If you have any question about Dehancer, drop them in the section below and I'll make sure to answer. And keep an eye on the channel for more videos about Dehancer. Bye for now.